So Donald Trump is having an absolute epic meltdown today as he's saying, hey, everyone, I'm doing 100% additional tariffs on China. And yes, you heard that correct. 100% additional tariffs on China. With all of Trump's meltdowns, it's always the same. Lots of kicking, lots of screaming, of course, lots of tweeting. And then Fox News is probably going to kiss his butt somewhere or everywhere, however you want to say it. And the problem with, Trump's epic meltdowns is at the end of the day, it's going to cost you more money. And basically, Trump, it just feels like he wants to drive us right into that iceberg and try to sink everything. So I want to break down what the heck is going on, 100% additional tariffs. And let's get into this stuff. I mentioned this in the last video. He had this crazy wall of text on his tweet. He was mad about China letters. He was mad about President Xi, etc. And in fact, Trump was supposed to come here to Korea. That's where I'm at. And meet with President Xi. That was sort of the, I don't know, rumor is the right word to say it, but we'll just say there was certainly talks that it could happen. And then Trump, this is that long tweet, depending on what China says about the hostile court order that they just put out, I will be forced as President of the United States to financially counter their move. Seems to be no reason to go forward with the planned meeting with Xi at APEC. So again, that was in 2 weeks here in Korea. Trump may change his mind. You never know. But this 100% tariff thing, the market took seriously as everything was crashing today. The 100% stuff just came out. And, my wife always makes jokes about this stuff. 100% for you, 200% for you, 300% for everyone, right? Because it just doesn't seem like we're living in reality. We're constantly stuck in a South Park timeline. If you guys are feeling it, trust me, I'm feeling it too. And isn't it just the weirdest thing that we have to live off some random crazy tweets that like nonstop? And I promise you, I'm sure there's someone insider trading this somehow. I'm sure there's a grift going on because people always ask me, Chris, is there someone short in the market right before he tweets? I'm sure there is. Do I know who? No, I don't. But I wouldn't be shocked because if you knew about this stuff ahead of time, I'll just say this: you're probably making bank. But yeah, today the market crashed because essentially, again, Trump is threatening 100% tariffs. So let's see what he says here. He says, it is impossible to believe that China would have taken such an action, but they have, and the rest is history. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Okay, what are we talking about here? It has been learned that China has taken extraordinary aggressive position on trade, okay, and sending an extremely hostile letter to the world. Trump is actually mad about letters from China. Seriously. And this is the dude who tweets out nonstop crazy stuff. He was the one that was sending out all the beautiful letters that he called them, right, to everyone. He'll also complain about Biden and auto pen stuff, right? And if you remember the meeting between the South Korean president, President Lee, and Trump, Lee basically manipulated Trump by doing the whole pen trick. And find my videos on that. It's pretty easy to find, but it's we'll just say this. It is very ironic that Trump is talking about letters from China that he's upset about. Extremely hostile letter. Sorry, not just letter, but extremely hostile letter in Trump's words. Okay. What's going on? Stating that they were going to effective November 1st, so that's a couple weeks from now, impose large-scale export controls on virtually every product they make, and even some not even made by them, okay? This affects all countries without exception, and was obviously a plan devised by them years ago, is absolutely unheard of in international trade, and a moral disgrace in dealing with other nations. I want to say this. True story. My wife and I were actually at the department store yesterday. And if you follow my channel, you know this. I like cameras. I do. I like cameras. But it's not just cameras. I like a lot of things. I like cars. I'm a guy. I like all sorts of stuff. And there are products here in Korea from China. And I'm not going to mention any brands or anything like that. I'll just say, because it's multiple ones, that are not available in the USA. And maybe someday they will be. And it was funny because I was telling my wife, I didn't even heard about this stuff. Where did this stuff even come from? Because, I'm American, so I watch a lot of American YouTube channels and, various cars and tech and stuff like that. And I ultimately realized is because there's no announcements for some of these really cool new products in the USA due to Trump's tariffs. And I just want to put it in the most simplest terms. As a consumer, right? And you guys are all consumers. We all buy stuff, right? All sorts of stuff you buy. I want access to all kinds of products, right? I don't want Trumpers telling me I can't buy coffee from this country. I can't buy coffee from that country because I'm going to put, massive tariffs. I don't want that. Do you want that? I don't want that. I don't want Trump saying, okay, I'm going to block you from buying this camera or that car or that phone or that refrigerator or whatever. And I'm just talking about consumer products. I mean, you get into the, industry commercial stuff. I mean, real money, like massive. I mean, it's all real money. I mean, it's all, things that you may need from China, and it's all kinds of stuff. And it's not just China, it's multiple countries. I'm just mentioning these things because I want to put it in just very real terms. Things that you need, things that you want, right? You can put in both things that you just want to buy for whatever reason, need or want to buy. And, USA is dependent on China. The same way China's dependent on USA, and the same way we're all dependent on each other. Like we're part of a global community. And I know I'm kind of ranting and raving here, but I just really want to emphasize that, because one thing that really bothers me about Trumpers and the MAGA, they want to live on like this island and I guess be all by themselves and I guess, marry the people around you, that kind of thing. I'll just say this, expand your world and you'll be surprised like how much better it is if you can get coffee from another, I'm just using an example of coffees because my wife loves coffee, right? And we go to like multiple coffee stores and stuff like that. She's always getting coffee. And, every coffee has different beans and different suppliers and they got different ways of roasting and blah, 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 right? You guys know this stuff. And I want to go to the grocery store and like have products from all around the world, all sorts of like, true story. We just bought avocado yesterday because my wife and I were trying to do IVF and avocado is actually important for there's like vitamins in there and things like that help you with that. And so like just for example, let's say Korea had some sort of thing that maybe we couldn't get avocados from Mexico, like that would actually directly affect us, like just a real product. I'm just giving for example. In Trump's situation, this is actually real. I remember hearing that like Chipotle was having trouble with avocado because this stuff's expensive if you get tariffs on whatever. And that's just, I'm using it just trying to give you daily life examples of how Trump adversely affects your life. And this may end up being all illegal anyway, right? As the Supreme Court could strike down all of these tariffs. But then you got this crazy situation of to where maybe the businesses get the money back, but then they don't pass it back on to you, which I think there's a high chance of that. So once that money's gone, you gave it to the store or whatever, I don't think you're seeing it back. That's my opinion. You may get it back, you may, but I wouldn't count on it, right? It's the same way I wouldn't count on Trump keeping any of his promises. Regarding this whole thing though, this is something that Trump can't just push a country like China around. China knows it. They're not stupid, right? And this. It's like, I think that's one of the big wake up calls for China, and it's or for Trump, but it's not just China. You could talk about Japan or Korea. I'm telling you guys that there's a whole other world outside the USA that is actually doing okay. Yes, we're all connected, and yes, the USA is melting down, but I want you to just understand that people like, hey, you know what? If Trump is going to go off doing his own thing and then MAGA want to live on an island, the rest of the world's like, I'm going to make friends with other people. I'm going to build partnerships with other people. And what you want to look for in a leader, and I just always want to stress these things, you want to look for people who are out all the time making friends, not someone like Trump who's like tweeting nonstop, making enemies. And just put it in the most basic terms. Like, who do you want to hang out with? Someone who's like pushing everyone away with a blowtorch, effectively? Or do you want someone who's got like throwing the biggest parties and everyone wants to come? Because it's like really fun to hang out with people from all kinds of, walks of life that bring all kinds of cool stuff to the party. I want to have the biggest party. I want to be in the big party. I don't want to be in the situation to where it's like Trumpers, MAGA, and they only want certain people of certain language, certain religion, certain skin color, right? They just want like the really small segment of the world, which ends up being, less than 1% of the world is what they want, right? But there's the other 99% of the world that has a lot to share. And I'm telling you guys the truth on this stuff. There's no way this thing is sustainable. Because at the end of the day, right, you agree with MAGA, don't agree with MAGA, I'm pretty sure they want to buy coffee just like everyone else. I'm pretty sure they want to have a refrigerator and a TV and they want to have a job, right? I'm pretty sure these things, I'm pretty sure someone wants to put food on their table. It's like pretty basic stuff. And Trump's is like trying to destroy all of these things. And it's crazy. This is sort of why the market's reacting so negatively today. 100% tariffs is insane. Let's read what more we got from Mr. Trumpers. He says here, based on the fact that China has taken unprecedented position and speaking only for the USA and not other nations who are similarly threatened starting November 1st, 2025 or sooner, depending on any further actions or changes taken by China, the United States of America will impose a tariff of 100% on China over and above any tariff that are currently paying. And the exact numbers are always hard to calculate because it's all over the map. It depends on the product categories, et cetera. And when I see someone has a chance to break that down, they will. And Trump could change his mind. So that's why it's tough to keep track of this stuff. Also on November 1st, we will impose export controls, okay, on any and all critical software. Okay, so we're saying no software for you, I guess. It is impossible to believe that China would have taken such an action, but they have, and the rest is history. Thank you for mentioning this matter, Donald Trump, right? So 100% tariffs is what we're looking at. And they're fighting over multiple things, actually. Basically, what it boils down to is when Trump, threatens whatever he's going to threaten on, various countries, be it Europe, be it China, be it here in Korea. Basically, you can say, well, if you're going to, pull this crap Trump, we're going to have more crackdowns and more stricter regulations on your U.S. companies. So, for example, this article just mentions the one, I guess, Beijing, so it'll be in China, says overnight announced an antitrust probe into U.S. mobile giant Qualcomm. And then they're also doing something with NVIDIA, some sort of, crackdown, right? And there's any number of things that they could do. If China wants to go after, Apple, they totally could or whatever, right? Or say in the EU situation, they could say, hey, you know what? We're going to tax Facebook more, right? We're going to enforce our laws. And for example, here in Korea, because this can be for any number of countries, and Australia may have these situations as well. American companies really want detailed, high definition maps of Korea. That's worth a lot of money. Local companies here in Korea, for example, like Naver's a big one, or Kakao, if you're familiar with these type of companies. But basically, it has to do with, say, what about like driving apps, taxi services, shopping, reviews, real estate, any number of things. Having high detail maps and access to that information is money, right? And the little tech companies in the USA are, obviously they want this kind of stuff. And it's not just Korea. Like I said, multiple countries have these things in place. And, how do we tax revenue regarding digital tech companies, et cetera? Point I'm trying to make, guys, is don't think you can play this game. And I'm talking to Trump and the MAGA people where, I guess you're going to force all these other countries to do your bidding and expect them just to lay around and say, oh, okay, fine, you win. Doesn't really work like that way. Even though Trump tries to tell you he's bringing in, last time we checked, Trump claimed $22 trillion this year. And if we're so rich, why can't even we pay our own people? I mean, it's a bunch of lies. It's obviously he's a liar. It's just obvious. I guess now we're firing people in the largest solar farm. It's hard to keep track of this stuff, but every time I mention like every one of these stories, because I hear from you in the community, these are real people. These are real people. I just heard from someone in the community that was saying that their airline, and they won't mention which one because, I mean, everyone's real cautious of what you can post on social media these days, but they're laying off people because if you even like a post, right, that may be something that the airline doesn't like you to like, which is kind of crazy. Not even posting, just liking, I guess, that your employer could threaten you, these kind of stuff. That's the environment that the USA is in. The whole stuff is crazy, let alone attacking solar farms. I mean, this kind of stuff, solar, wind, renewables, that's where I want the USA to be going. Trump wants to be going backwards. So obviously the market is crashing due to the China tariffs. And then at the end of the day, and again, it's completely unsustainable. I always use that word because that's what I truly believe. We can't go by this Twitter-in-chief forever. And then his main partner, say like an Elon Musk, is basically an addict. It's basically what it is. And he'll sit around wherever he is in his office, laying on his floor. Like he brags about laying on his floor. He really does. Like every time I have to say this stuff, it just sounds so stupid. Goes to parties, brags about I lay on the floor. I pass it on the floor. And then he's like talking about how we're all going to go to Mars. And then you have like this army of bots and Musk followers that are just like, frankly, stupid. You're like, oh yeah, let's all go to Mars. We're all going to get rich. There's no way Trump and Musk kind of culture can last forever. They're just totally cons. And then taking it on a more serious note, this was a story that came out today, 19 missing after blast rock Tennessee military explosion plant. And I don't mean to be a downer telling you about this kind of news, But I'm bringing up the seriousness of when Trump is trying to lay off everyone in the government, wants to deregulate everything, wants a bunch of incompetent lackeys to fill his administration. You just get this kind of stuff, right? And so I'm bringing this up because I don't know what happened. I don't know. I don't know the details, and we won't know probably for a while yet. Maybe we never know with under Trump administration. But in this kind of situation, regardless of any natural disaster, right? Natural, or maybe it's a human disaster, who knows? I want competent people to go in and figure it out, solve the problem, and make sure and ensure that it doesn't happen again. That's how you better your country. That's how you better your society. Learn from your mistakes, set these sort of changes in place, and move on. And you're never going to see that mistake again. And ultimately, because you can't predict every mistake that's going to happen, but don't repeat the same things of the past. And that's sort of why this is such a big mistake. When you fire so many workers, federal workers, you're losing all of that institutional knowledge, right? This years of experience that people have. Because you guys know this. You're on a job when you first start. You may be qualified, true, but you need experience. That's what experience is for older people who have experience. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Because of any number of problems that you face throughout the day that you just never seen it before, right? It's not that you're not qualified, just never seen it before. And then once you get that experience, you're like, okay, I get it, right? And so this is why you want to keep experienced people on. And Trump keeps trying to push this out. And suddenly things just start to break, which I think is what we're seeing. We're not even a year into the Trump presidency and things are just falling apart. The wheels are coming off. I don't think there's any way this is sustainable. And I keep saying that midterms are coming. Trump's health is failing. And so this is what we're watching is like how long before the whole thing just basically falls apart. And they got to just, even MAGA, as they're starting to come out today, is like, you know what, enough is enough. And maybe it's going to be as something stupid as, I went over to try to buy cheap clothes from China and it was double. And suddenly all my constituents are calling me saying, oh my God, what are you doing? I need my shoes or my clothes or whatever. Or, say they watch a channel on YouTube, like something like mine, and I have access to products that they would like to have available in the USA, but you can't get them because of Trump's tariffs. And this is a true story. You go to websites on various companies. I'm telling you the truth. Because I didn't even know some of these products existed. And I'm not, I'll just say, I literally saw it edition. I'm like, oh my God, this stuff's awesome. My wife was actually even making the joke because before, Chinese goods would often, I'll speak truth, like kind of copies. But we're at the point where some of these Chinese companies, I'm just using an example of China, it's like they got some pretty good tech over there and they're starting to compete, or you could even say surpass, but just, it's a real competition with Japan and Korea. Now you got 3 countries in Asia, China, Japan, and Korea, that all put out pretty cool stuff. And I'm just telling you the truth, guys. And then I think wait till like India and Vietnam start to come online, because it's here, true story. I mean, they're going to get cars and phones, but ultimately for the consumer, that's a good thing. It's a good thing to have more choices. It's a good thing to have a market where companies are forced to innovate, because that's what a market is. If you don't innovate, you're done. And the Trump point of view is like, well, I'm American. I deserve a job. I deserve all the money, right? That in my opinion, that's not American. In my opinion, you compete with the rest of the world, and through innovation, hiring the best people, all this kind of stuff, right? That's how you win. Bring people together, attract talent, and it's just so crazy, the world we live in. I feel like every day I turn into whatever news and I see what Trump's doing, it's just like complete opposite of what a sensible, reasonable person would do. But what can you do? So that's my thoughts on this stuff. I always appreciate your time, everyone. And I'll catch you all in the next video.